Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us again for Tapped In with LissyLou. Here with me today, I have Meagan Anderson, and we're going to talk about goal setting. Thank you, Meagan, for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. My favorite topic.
Yeah, that's right. Because I'm so inspired by Meagan. She set amazing goals last year. And yeah, can you start off by just sharing a little bit about your background?
Sure. So I am a teacher, and I guess maybe other teachers listening can relate to it. Like once you do that, like you're always that's who you are. You can't take it out of you. But I've been playing in a space outside of the classroom, in where I'm mentoring other teachers in a technology space, and I'm absolutely loving it. And within that role, I've done some growth coaching training, and then loved that so much that outside of my work, I started looking into creative coaching. I've always been obsessed with self-development books, which I know get mixed emotions from people. And it's not so much about the perfect world, but it's all about how can I be a better version of myself tomorrow than I was today. And
Yes.
I am just always striving to do better, I suppose.
Something we have in common. It's funny. My brother and I, we used to always make fun of my sister, who's a year older than me. That's all she reads is self-help books. But then I jumped on the bad bandwagon maybe about 5 years ago with the books, and I love them too. So something we have in common.
And I think there's mixed emotions. I think a lot of people read them and they see it as toxic positivity, and they need to do all of the things. And that's not what I take in. And if I read a book, I'd be able to look at the book and say, oh, what I got from that book was, in one sentence, I could summarize what I got from that one book, and I might throw a few of those in today as well. But I don't expect everybody to go out and read all of the books, but just sharing my background. I've always been interested in psychology. I think when I was in year 12, I wrote in my yearbook I'd be a psychologist in 10 years from then, and that didn't happen, and I'm glad it didn't happen. But I obviously have always been interested in how the brain works, but I also think I'm a people person, so
definitely
having those conversations with people and getting them, like I didn't mean to inspire anyone last year with my goal. I didn't think it was a big deal. Well, in a way it was a big deal, but I've inspired myself, and I've taken on so much more this year. So it's exciting.
Would you like to share some of those goals you set last year
Sure.
that have inspired me to sort of copy one of those?
Yeah. And I'm excited for you. I saw you following through with that at dinner tonight.
No alcohol for 2025.
So I did do that last year, which was a big step. I don't believe that I had a serious problem beforehand. I just saw that I wasn't really happy with the habits that I was taking on. And I just thought, I'm going to give this a break, like a little bit of a long-term science experiment to see what the benefits would be. Made it through the year much easier than I thought I was going to. And then that proof to myself that I could follow through with that promise was just so good for my self-confidence. And then this year I've just taken on more. I've actually always had these yearly goals, but they were on a much smaller scale. Like the year before, I drew every day with my Apple Pencil. Never thought I was creative in my whole life, and told myself, it's teachable, everybody. Don't say you can't draw. You can learn. I drew every day for 365 days, and now I think,
well done.
If I can rub it out like with a magic eraser, I feel confident drawing and tracing. I did a bit of tracing.
Nice.
I've done things like not shop for a year for new clothes. I didn't drink out of plastic. I was all anti-plastic bottles. I didn't drink out of plastic for a year.
Nice.
And this year I'm tackling 5 different things, and I thought I couldn't make my mind up, so I thought I'll do all these 5, and the last one, drop off's the one that I'll commit to. But we're now like 43 days in, and I still am committed to these 5 things.
Can you share those 5 things?
Yeah. We were just laughing about, if I say it on this podcast, it means I'm going to have to follow through.
But you'll have to let one go, right?
Okay. But here's the thing, the longer you go,
the more you want to hang on.
100%, the easier it gets, because you're like, well, it's 43 days now. I'm not going to give up now, am I? So it's all about my morning routine at the moment. So waking up without looking at my phone, doing yoga, meditation, having a healthy breakfast. Between you and me and the rest of the world, I was having chocolate for breakfast most days last year.
Okay. Yep, fair enough.
Yep. So I have a bit of a chocolate problem. I'm also not having sugar.
Oh, well done.
Yeah, so I'm 43 days without chocolate, which I can tell you has been a lot harder than 365 days without alcohol.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been really hard, and I'm most proud of that. And
Well done.
I've got a video gratitude diary going as well.
Well done.
So by the end, it's 1 second a day a video, and by the end of the year, I'll have 365 seconds of my favorite moments.
That's fantastic. I might have to copy that one too.
Yeah,
because one of my goals is to beat my sugar addiction. My husband, your brother-in-law, is always giving me a hard time. Not that I think it's that bad, but he's Mr. Super Discipline, and that's something that's always challenged me, is being disciplined. So, and like you said already, like I think that's the most I've found out of so far, not having alcohol so far this year, is I'm like, wow, I can actually do it. And it does, it boosts your confidence.
For sure.
So
that's actually, and I wrote this name down. It came from a friend when she said she'd heard from Ed Milet, that is actually, if you can prove to yourself that you have kept a promise, how good that is for your self-esteem. And then they just keep piling up.
Right.
So I'm not telling everyone to go out and spend 365 days of not doing your favorite thing. I'm not saying that at all, but maybe we've got some strategies that we can talk about how you can chip away at that and become, really, really achieve the things that you want to achieve.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And something I would love to ask you is, why is goal setting so important for personal and professional growth?
Yeah. Okay. Well, you work in the same space that I work with. So professional goals is something that we actually have to do every year. And I feel like up until recently, it was just paperwork that we had to do. And now I'm taking it so seriously. And again, it's professionally and personally, as soon as you start achieving those goals, you're like, oh my gosh, I did this thing, that it's not just, oh yeah, I'll do that one day. Right. I'm really doing it. It's not something that you put on your bucket list when you're about to die. It's I want to do that. I'm going to write it down. And I think that's an important step. Writing down the things that you want. And that tip came from me I wish I bought my books in like you did. But
we'll talk about that.
Great book. But that tip came from Sebastian Terry's 100 Things. And he, if you haven't, look him up on YouTube if you don't know who he is. And it's all about actually acknowledging, we have those conversations all the time when somebody shares an experience and go, I want to do that one day. But by the time you write it down, if you are actually consciously, and I maybe once or twice a year, I get that list out again and go, what is achievable for me over the next few months? What am I going to work towards? And that book actually, I think that was where I first went, I'm going to do the things that I want to do instead of saying I'll do that one.
Right. Or I should, yes.
Exactly.
And I'm glad you brought that book up, because I almost brought that book today because we went and saw him.
Got a signed copy.
Yes, we have a signed copy. He's amazing. And you went overseas with him on one of his trips. Cambodia.
Yeah. It was having he doesn't like to call it a bucket list. His things, the things on your list, and he's like, who's going to help disadvantaged people in Cambodia on their list? I'm taking a group over. And it was life-changing, and right at the right moment for me too. I had 2 young children, and I'd started to lose who I was, and I found myself over there as well.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because this podcast is all about personal development journeys, and something that I've overcome was postnatal depression. And it took me a long time to realize that it was that loss of identity from a single life to then changing that role into a mother. So thank you for bringing that up.
And the world's always talking about how beautiful and wonderful it is, but there's not enough conversations about how damn challenging it can be and how lonely it can be. Even though you're surrounded by people all the time, it can be really quite lonely.
Yes. And that was something that helped me. I had to get out of the house every day. Whether take my baby to the park or the mom's group or whatever, just get out of that house, get social, because we used to have a village that raised a child. And now we're in this age of individualism, and people are lonely. And we need to talk about that more. And I think I feel like there's a whole episode there.
Yeah,
definitely to be coming up soon. But Meagan, I'd love to know also, what do you think the biggest mistakes people make when setting goals?
I think just too big. Like, I'm sure most people are aware of SMART goals, SMART, making sure that they're specific. Purpose? Is that what P stands for? No, it's M. measurable account that you're accountable for it, that they're realistic, is it?
Yeah.
And that you've got the time limit in there as well.
Nice.
And I just feel like there's too much going on there for me.
Yeah.
And for me, even setting a big goal, it just needs to be broken down into small bits. And this is what I learned from all the coaching training that I did. So I did the educational growth coaching, which I started to relate to my friends, like who were going through divorces and things. And I was like, oh, this skill is adaptable everywhere. And then I did a course on Domestica, which is it's kind of like masterclass where you learn from professionals about how to do things, but that was on creative coaching. So getting people to start their own businesses or to work out actually what they wanted from their life creatively. And I found that just by asking those questions, and in our training, I had other people asking me the questions. If somebody asked you the right question, your brain would just go, I hadn't thought about that. And coaching's not about telling anyone to do anything. It's just about getting them to think differently to how they've always thought. So
I love that, because I think most people do have the answers deep inside, but we all need a bit of help and encouragement to get it out. And because everyone, there's a lot of people who are like, I don't know what my passion is. And sometimes I still struggle too. Like, am I on the right path? But just having those questions that can help spark the creativity or that light bulb moment.
For sure. And the power then, like, it is coming from inside of you. It's not got anything to do with the coach. It's your idea. And that your coach is not telling you what you should be doing. Your coach is just getting down on paper what you want to do and how you're going to get there. But then the trick is to break that down into small steps. Okay. So for example, I actually was coached on my morning routine in our training session, which was about 2 years ago now. And now it is, I just don't think I could start my day without that morning routine.
Can I hear more about your morning routine? Because that's one of my goals, is have a better morning routine. Because I do love meditation, but I find if I do it in the morning, I fall asleep. So what are
That's happened.
Okay.
Sit up. There's laying down's not good for me. Yeah. Or, put your alarm on again for a little bit later on, I suppose.
It's good shit.
And meditation is definitely something you have to work at. It is, for me, not looking at my phone. If I accidentally roll over, turn my alarm off and look at my phone, it's these are all the things I have to do today. I've got messages from work, and then your brain's already full. I actually I still don't like getting out of bed, but all of my morning routine advice has come from Mel Robbins. Google it. She's amazing. And she's got a whole talk, I think goes for about 20 minutes on the morning routine. And she said, well, you're never going to feel like it. Yes. You still have to get out of bed. Yes. What's the difference about doing, you doing it now or doing it in 20 minutes time? You are never going to feel like it. That's true. Just get up and do it.
Have you seen her video where she literally shows how she rolls out of bed on the floor to commandos?
That surely uses more energy than standing up and walking.
She's so hilarious.
She's so great. The other thing I got from her is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you get an idea and you want to do something, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, just go and do it. And I use that a lot as well. And even with I should do that one day. I can't go and do that in the next 5 seconds because it's in Canada, but I'll write it down. I'll put it on that list and go, yeah, I am going to do that one day.
Yes. Put it on your 100.
Yeah.
Yes. Beautiful. Thank you. So how can you recommend creating realistic and achievable goals?
So for me, the yearly thing is really starting to work. However, I think shorter goals is where I started. And I literally bought my journal this year is actually 12 journals. So I can tackle 1 month at a time, setting 1 month goals and chipping away at it. Because I had a little play with this last year and I wanted to write a book. I still haven't written it. So I don't want people watching this to think I've achieved all of my goals. I definitely haven't, but I'm chipping away at things slowly. Beautiful. And this is I claim none of what I do from me. I've got it all from watching self-development or reading self-development books. But Jerry Seinfeld writes every day, and even if 5 minutes, that's all. Okay. And that's what I set with my writing goal. Yeah. And 5 minutes is easy. Yes. And it would often turn into half an hour, and I'd often have hundreds and hundreds of words. And this is where I got this idea of, okay, that worked really well for 30 days. Let's try it for 365 days. And it just grew and grew and grew. So I'm not saying everyone just jump in and go, okay, as of the 1st of March, I'm going to do this every day. But if you only have to do one day, just focus on one day.
Yeah.
And honestly, the first 3 days of my healthy eating thing was the hardest. And then once I got to 4, I was like, oh, this is just what I do now.
Yes.
And I hear my yoga teacher, that my YouTube yoga at home practice, she's like, you've made it to day 10. You've done the hard bit. I was like, I have. I should. And she's like, oh, she's very encouraging. You should be so proud of yourself. Like, oh, thank you.
I love that. That's the same with them, because I've been doing my 5 minutes of qigong every day. And what I love that with my teacher, who he was like, don't miss one day because it's like missing 10 days. And I was like, oh, okay. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna be a good student. And that's the thing, you tell your brain, you almost trick the brain. If I do 5 minutes, sometimes it turns into 10, some 15, and you always feel better.
100%. And I have most definitely failed at goals as well. And the rule that I now live by, and I haven't had to lean on it, but for smaller goals, is 80% of the time.
That's still a good result.
Yes. So because I was finding I wanted to get up and run every day. If one day I had COVID, that was a pretty excuse to not get up and run, right?
Time to rest.
It was a good rule. But then I was like, well, I didn't do it yesterday. Why should I do it today? It's ruined now. And I would have that, I can't start until next year. I can't start till Monday. Why do things always have to start on the Monday? I don't know. So then I started going 80% of the time. So 80% of the time is what? 5 out of your 7 days.
That's pretty darn good.
I think so. I think so.
You're allowed some rest days.
But I did not only drink 20% of the time. Right. I really, really did that.
Yeah, 100%.
I did 100%.
Yes, well done.
Yes, and I feel so good about it. And when I hear stories about, you're actually not the only person who is doing this year, and I'm just so chuffed. It was never my intention, but it's,
I loved it
because I didn't sell it.
Yeah. No.
At the time, I wasn't raving about how good it was.
Well, I just love how the confidence and just to test my discipline. And I will admit, I had one little sip of my friend's wine because I really wanted to taste it. But you know what I got out of it? I was like, I didn't like it. Oh. And I was like, oh, good. That made me feel even better.
Yeah, good.
So I think it's okay to, like you said, it doesn't have to be 100%. But if, anything above 75%, that's pretty darn good, I think.
You have to be kind to yourself.
Yes.
That's the number one rule. Like, you can't go, oh, why didn't you do that? I can't believe you did that again. You're always ruining this. You can't be doing that self-talk. It has to be, oh, everyone finds this challenging. Remember, 80% of the time, let's try again tomorrow. You have to be having these nice conversations in your head like a friend would.
I love that. Speak to yourself like a friend would, because that's it. We're always so hardest on ourselves. Especially when I remember with my postnatal, I didn't realize how awful I was to myself. I was the worst person to myself. And I didn't even know I was doing it. And that was the first thing my counselor asked, just watch it. Just catch it.
Yeah.
And that was the first step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it seems easy when you do that. Like I will sometimes talk to myself badly out loud. And I've even taught the kids, and they'll be like, talk nicely to yourself, Mum. Don't talk to yourself like that, Mum. Oh, thanks for bringing it to my attention.
That's right. Because that's the only way you can sort of turn it around, is just notice it. And then, but back to goals. So, and you've talked a bit about setting short-term and long-term goals. So would you have your short-term goals relate to your long-term goals, or are they separate?
Sometimes. Do you know what? And this came from another book that I read. I did the course first on Domestica, and then I read the book that somebody recommended in there. It was called The Source by Dr. Tara Swart. And it was about actually finding what your passion was. And it was full of activities in there to work it out. Loved it.
I want to check that out.
And she talked about, I know this sounds super corny, but actually making those vision boards and looking at it's kind of like The Secret, and you just, that's going to happen, and looking at it all the time. Yes. So I also at the start of the year watched a New Year's thing from Mel Robbins. It was about a 2024 audit. And she suggested going through all the photos on your phone from 2024 and writing down all the things you took photos of, like food, flowers, and just by, obviously you're taking photos of the things that you love. So just by doing an audit, and I've got it here actually, just by doing an audit of all of the things that you love, op shopping, bonfires, silent disco, it just remembers, it really puts an emphasis on all of the things that make you happy. And that's what you want to do more of now. So I did that, and then I put my little vision board together of more of that stuff. But I do have in the middle of my vision board 80% to remind myself you can't do all of the things, and you have to be kind to yourself 80% of the time. So okay.
Do you look at yours every day?
I do. Yeah. And you know, last year's I drew it because that was my goal last year, to draw every day. No, the year before. So I was a really good drawer for the last year. It's like I drew it, and I was so proud of even my drawing. And I think everything happened. Well, I worked towards everything in there.
Well done.
Yeah.
There you go. So instead of like getting pictures, you hand drew.
I did last year. This year I used AI, text to image, and then made it all pink. It's very pretty.
Oh, I can't wait to see it.
Yeah. So that I know it sounds corny, but it's just something that seemed to work for me.
Yeah.
And just remember, these are the things that are important to me. You know, that little complaint that's got me down at work is not a priority in my life. Those little people out on the lounge that I'm not spending time with, they are my priority. And just, you know, it's nice to do a little bit of a check of what's important to you.
Definitely. So back to your 5 goals, because I don't know if you shared all of them. Are you happy to share a bit more what your 5 goals for this year?
Yeah. I'm still chipping away at them.
Okay,
After I didn't drink for 365 days, I was probably expecting this miracle change in my life.
Okay.
And I'm sure that happens for some people, but I was actually a little bit disappointed that I think my mental health stayed the same, which is good.
Yes, that's important.
I think my figure was exactly the same. Nothing.
I'm
fine. Whatever. I don't think that, you know, it was never about that.
Right.
I was probably a little bit more productive, I suppose, but I just wanted, in one of my 30-day challenges the year before, I was running every day, and I made it the 30 days, except for that time I had COVID. And I felt so good. And I remember one day just going, is this how we're supposed to feel? Like, I feel really good today. And if not drinking alcohol didn't do that, then maybe I could start looking at what else my body's doing and what I'm putting into my body. So I know everyone has health goals, right? But this is probably the first time in my life that I've actually just gone, I'm really, you know, I want to live a long time, and I want to be able to do things with my kids. And
beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that. Because so same like with joining the gym, my previous podcast, go check it out with Adam Prowse. You know, when I first started, I was happy going 3 days. And then once I did that consistently, you know, up to 4 days and 5 days, even 6 days, which helped me win a challenge. My gym runs 28-day challenges. We're currently on one. And old me would not have been able to do that. Would have been full of excuses. But I just know me that I can do anything physical. So then, you know, the last year or two, I've been really trying to improve the mental game, because it's all linked, right? Physical, mental.
Sure.
And I've never been really great at setting specific goals. Like most people, we have these New Year's resolutions. How many of us still have kept our New Year's resolutions? So then I got to the point where I didn't even make them anymore. I'm like, what's the point? You know, they're not sticking. Whereas
why do you think that is?
I think why they fizzle is I didn't write them down. I didn't check in with it regularly. I think I forgot what I had set. And then I didn't have very good discipline. So I think that's what I'm inspired by you last year not drinking alcohol. I'm like, because I don't miss it. But the hardest thing is social when I'm around. So I would love, like, do you have any tips if I'm socially around friends that do love drinking?
Sparkling water.
Okay.
I was actually with somebody the other night who was driving, and he came back with his beer that's usually quite dark in a brown bottle, but it looked a bit light. And I was like, what's going on in there? And he's like, I just filled it up with water, so I feel like I'm fitting in.
There you go, just trick.
But you're right, you don't know what to do with your hands sometimes.
And
I look back and I just think there were lots of periods in my life where I had no problem with not drinking. How did I get to this spot where I felt like I need to always have something in my hand? I don't. And the biggest thing I got was that I did it.
That's right. You completed it.
And then this year I was like, well, actually, that's not what I can do those other things that I thought I couldn't do. So maybe start small. Maybe start with not drinking out of plastic, or not buying any new clothes. Might be huge for some people. Some people really panicked about that. I found it really easy, and I got all this extra time back in my life because I wasn't shopping. I really loved it.
Yes.
But I started with what I thought was small. And when I proved to myself that I could do that, the fact that I'm doing 4 healthy things this year is, you know me, I like sugar more than you do.
I don't know. I love sugar. Oh man.
Yeah, but it was that proof that, hey, you can do this. You can keep promises to yourself. And how that can go across every aspect of your life as soon as you tell your head, no, I'm not going to do that, or yeah, I'm going to put that boundary up today. Once you tell yourself you can do that and you believe yourself, that's very empowering.
Yes. And I love that you brought up boundaries, because that's something I never really was taught growing up or even knew about. So that's one of my goals this year, is to really learn more about boundaries and how to hold them into play. I have the confidence, because I think that's something we both have in common. We're people pleasers. And but sometimes we do have to, share what is okay with us. And I'm learning that.
There's another episode for you.
There's a whole nother episode right there. But back to goal setting. How can someone stay motivated when progress feels slow?
So this is what I didn't ever see this. It was a podcast I was listening to, but that Jerry Seinfeld thing of keeping the chain going. It can be a calendar of crossing or every day. Yep, I did it that day. Yep, I did it that day. 80% of the time is okay. But then you look back and you go, whoa, you raise a good point, but you don't have to do the whole thing.
Right.
Today, you only have to do that thing you promised today.
Yes.
Don't worry about tomorrow.
I love that you said that, because one of the ways we try to have less sugar in the house is not buy any soda. And so, but we didn't eliminate it. We made this agreement for our family. If we're at a party or someone's house, okay, we'll treat ourselves with a can of Coke, but we do not buy it. We don't have it in our house. Otherwise, it's so tempting to have it there, right? So is that sort of like an 80% rule?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you can make these, I know this just works for me. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, but setting that rule of I did have 1 year, one of my goals was to only have, and I tried cold turkey chocolate many times. I've had hypnotherapy for my chocolate addiction. I have tried everything that you can think of. But this 1 year I tried moderation, and I've never been very good at moderation. So my rule was snack size. So 60 grams of chocolate a day.
Smart.
But I couldn't stock up when I was at the shops. I could only, if I was out, get my 60 grams that day. I couldn't go and buy family blocks and stock them up. And that was actually, I wasn't denying myself.
Yes.
I was still allowed to have it. And if I really wanted, I could drive into town and get it. But often I didn't want it that bad.
Well done. Yeah, chocolate's a hard one for me. I even will hide it from my husband and son, and have it even sometimes after they've gone to bed. So it's
better than breakfast, is it?
I'm still eating it, but I've been better this year. I haven't done that so far. Good. So hopefully I'll keep that goal going.
So I guess just make silly rules. Whatever you think you can do for one day.
Yeah.
And then try it again the next day. It doesn't matter what the rule is.
That's right. Whatever feels good with you. Yeah. Yeah. So Meagan, can you share with us how anyone can overcome procrastination or fear of failure?
Fear of failure is a huge one, and it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But we just have to become comfortable with it. It's everywhere. We know we grow from it. I know I'm always telling my kids, that's really sad that happened. It's going to make you a stronger person. I mean, we know it. Something I read, actually, it might have been in the source, was there was an exercise where you actually had to actively go out knowing you were going to fail at something and just do it. So, for example, when you're paying the bill at a restaurant, ask for a 50% discount. You know they're going to say no. And being used to that feeling of failing, and then just practicing it all the time. And then you become really comfortable with failing, because failing's great. We know it. We hear it all the time, but it doesn't feel nice. And that's okay. You can't feel nice all the time. Sitting in uncomfortable is good for us.
That's right. They say there's no failure in life. It's always feedback. And I love the saying, of course, you feel the fear, but do it anyways. One of the workshops I went to with Robin Banks, we did a fire walk. I know they're popular with Tony Robbins. And that was huge, like just trusting that you're going to be okay. And we were.
And how good did it feel?
Oh, it felt amazing.
Exactly. And when you achieve those big things or make the hardest decisions, are often the ones that come with the biggest reward as well. And it feels so good. Like, that was hard and I did it, and I'm being rewarded for it. And the other half of the question was about Procrastination.
Yes.
I really like, this is something that I always encourage somebody in when I'm coaching, but also in the SMART goals it's there. And that's why I was a bit scared of sharing all my goals today, because now I'm completely accountable. So finding somebody who can be your accountability partner. And I remember my friend's son came, he'd been reading Atomic Habits actually, and he came up and he's like, what's your goal, Mom? And she's like, oh, I don't know, maybe drink more water. And he was bringing out water for her all the time. So her little accountability partner was her son. Beautiful. Just making sure she was staying on track. So you got to find those friends that are you go girl, instead of you check. I had a lot of this and I wasn't offended by it, but or you can just have one drink, or what are you doing that for, and trying to talk you in out of doing your goal. That's not your accountability partner,
right? Okay, don't go to them.
no and
they're for fun. Go hang out with them for fun.
That's right. We'll have that conversation. This is what I want to do. I'm not sure I can do it alone. Can you check in on me every now and then and make sure I'm doing it?
Beautiful. And that sort of relates to boundaries in a way. Hey, this is what I'm doing. Please don't, cross that boundary, or
for sure
hold it accountable. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Some good tips there. Thank you, Meagan. And are there any tools or resources you could recommend for effective goal setting?
I have just all of those books. Can you list those? All the books. I'll send you a message with them, but all of those books, but
we'll put them in the description.
What I've done, as I said, just one thing I remember, that's what I got from this book, and that's what I got from this book. And what I have become is just those little bits of information from all these other books, and I'm really happy with that, where that's come from. So I would just start somewhere.
Yes.
One day.
One day.
Just go and do it right now. Do that thing right now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go.
Do it. I love how you say once, like whenever I look at this book, Atomic Habits by James Clear, my little one sentence summary is just be 1% better every day. And then all of a sudden it'll compound. And
then you look back and you go, wow,
look at me podcasting. Who knew?
Exactly. You should be very proud of yourself.
Oh, thank you. With your support, of course. So thank you so much. So Meagan, how important is a growth mindset when setting goals?
Well, I think it's everything. And I saw this study once that they did in preschools where they gave kids a jigsaw one day and everyone had to do the jigsaw. And the next day they gave these kids jigsaw that was the same, and they could redo that one or a new one. And then they followed these kids through their schooling and found that the kids who chose the next challenge instead of just doing the easy option succeeded better academically and in life. And I thought this is really fascinating, because it is, I don't know how, I 100% believe that you can train your brain.
I agree.
But how I got here, I don't know whether I was just born with this growth mindset. And I would say I've got varying degrees in my own children, and I'm having the same conversations when they're growing up in the same environment, that one will be like, yeah, I'll do that challenging task, and one will be like, nah.
Not today, Mom.
Nah, why would I do that? So I do think it's easier for some people to have that growth mindset of going, I can train my brain. This is hard, but I can do it. I can learn this. I can change my brain, all of those growth mindset things. But I also believe that once you start using that, it just gets stronger and stronger and stronger.
Definitely. I'm a big believer in, every time you learn something new, you create more synapses in your brain, and it definitely all, multiplies.
I sometimes think that maybe in some situations I do have a growth mindset, but then I'll catch myself going, oh, that's a bit of a fixed mindset there. Like maybe it's some sort of certain situations where I just go, nah, not. And so different factors would influence how well my brain is developing each day too, I suppose.
You remind me, because all of us, we have these limiting beliefs that we don't even know we have. And sadly, that does happen in our childhood. That's something I did a lot last year, was unpacking these limiting beliefs that I didn't even know I was holding on to, and you had to dig deep to then dismantle those. So it's interesting. Yeah, I think they're sort of related. So that's another episode. How long do you meditate for?
10 minutes.
You do 10 minutes.
Yoga's about 20 to 40 minutes a day, and then 10 minutes of meditation.
Nice.
Right. And then I go and have a coffee and I think about what's important to me today.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it is a nice morning routine. And then I go and do the laundry and the bathroom and
do all the things. Yes. How can people set goals without feeling overwhelmed or burnt out?
Well, I guess this is counteractive with that last one, isn't it? Just if it is a big goal, break it down into small things. And that's what the coaching questions that coaches would ask and the training teaches you is, okay, well, what to make this happen, what's your first step? Okay, can you break that into a smaller step? Can we do that today? All right, let's go and do that. And you wouldn't leave that coaching session without knowing this is what I have to do today.
Okay.
And I'm hoping everyone listening is going, oh, I know what I have to do today. And
So
unless it's like the middle of the night, start in the morning, start with your morning routine.
Yeah, that's right.
But don't wait till Monday and don't wait till next January.
Yeah,
start it today.
That's right.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. It doesn't have to be January 1st, start of every year.
No, it works for me. It's not going to work for people right now. If you're thinking about something you want to do, you're going to have to start tomorrow.
That's it. Yeah. So what should someone do when they hit a roadblock or fail to meet a goal?
Forgive yourself, be kind.
Yes.
And start again tomorrow.
Beautiful. Simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do. Don't give up.
Don't give up. Yeah. That's it. We have to be so much kinder to ourselves, don't we? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if someone feels stuck in life, what's the first step they should take to move forward?
And I'm saying all this from a place of privilege now. Like I've been stuck
me too.
in my life. Yeah. And I'm talking about it. And this is my favorite time to read these books is when life is going great, for sure. And when things are hard, I'm like, whatever, whatever gets me through today. So what was the question again?
Yeah, if someone feels stuck in life, what's the first step they should take?
Yeah. If you are stuck, then reach out for help. It doesn't have to be fancy coaching help or psychologists or whatever, but find that person who you can be accountable for. Find somebody and talk. You need to, and here's another whole episode, but you need to be having these conversations. Don't just sit there on it and have those awful, destructive conversations in your own head. You need to go and tell somebody what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Somebody that you trust, somebody who's going to listen to you, have a conversation and see what they would say. Because I know it sounds corny, but a problem shared is a problem halved. And it is so true. As soon as you get something off your chest.
Yes.
And I'm a talker. You might have picked that up. And I don't hold things in. I feel like what you see is what you get with me. And that's been a bit of a luxury that I guess I've just grown up with. So when I'm not doing well, I will tell somebody, and it's really rewarding. And it's probably not until later in life that I realized not everybody talked about it. They bottled it up and kept it inside.
That's it. Well, I'm the same. I like to vent, just venting.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And then it's done. And often, especially for men and mothers, I suppose, people who want their job is to, it's not their job, but they want to help you and keep you safe and protect you and make things better, they will automatically be, this is how we solve the problem. Whereas sometimes you just want to talk about it, and you'll have to be clear with that too. Like, I don't need you to do this, babe. I don't need you to fix this problem. I just want you to listen to it. Thank you.
Yes. I was just going to mention that, because sometimes, like when I'm venting to my husband, he will definitely want to give me some advice. I'm like, no, I just need you to listen. Just listen. Yeah. I don't need any feedback or criticism.
It's not their fault.
Yeah, it's not their fault.
They want to help you, and they don't realize what you're asking of them. So communication, that would be the answer to that question.
Beautiful.
Communicate with someone.
Yes. And back to goal setting. So, would you say that would you recommend for someone to have different goals for your professional life and your personal life? Like, or can you mix it up? Or
you could, for sure, especially if you are wanting to make changes in your professional life and bring that into your own personal passions. I have them separate, and I've really never thought about bringing them together. That's really interesting. But then every year when my contract comes up again, I go, oh, what do I want to be when I grow up? And I'm starting to panic and set those goals again. It's a very good question. And I suppose just each to your own. If you think that they're going to cross over, then absolutely. And a lot of the skills will cross over. A lot of the things that you want to work on personally will definitely come into your professional life, for sure.
Beautiful. And Meagan, can you just leave some tips or anything, last minute ideas that you'd like to share with our listeners about goal setting?
Yeah, well, I know I've said it twice already. I'm going to say it again. Be kind to yourself. And I recently was asked to fill out, oh, I've got this here too. This is just my journal here. I've got a little journal that my daughter and I fill out. It's adorable.
Oh,
And a question, it's very hard. Some of the questions are very hard. And one was, what's your favorite quote? And this is a quote that I live by all the time when my life gets challenging. And it is, change what you can't accept what you can't change.
beautiful. Thank you so much. So thank you for your time today, Meagan. And guys, if you have any questions, pop them in the comments. If there's any topics that we mentioned and you would like to hear more about, let me know. And yeah, thank you for tuning in at Tap In with LissyLou. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Meagan. Bye. Bye.